Hello everybody and welcome to Mr. Stansfield's Education Videos. Today we're going to be looking at how to edit a headshot. We are shooting the headshots for our student actors in the play, and this is kind of after we've made our pictures. We want to do a little bit of retouching, a little bit of editing to our pictures. First you want to pick a picture that is sharp. Typically you're looking for the focus to be on the eyes. So in Bridge here, if you single click over here on the preview, you can see that the eye is nice and sharp. You could also hit the spacebar key and then single click and it will give you the view at 100%. You'll notice here that the back of our subject's eye is a little bit soft. The eye that's in the foreground is a little bit sharper, and that's fine. If one of the eyes is sharp, that's a-okay. Hit spacebar to get back here. And this is the picture that I've decided we're going to edit based on the lighting. There's some nice side lighting here and the expression and posing. So a couple of quick notes. You want your picture to have a blurry or plain background as well as have the focus be on the eyes. You want a dynamic pose that typically really only shows one ear. You don't want to have a mugshot, which is sort of a straight-on picture. Those are the main criteria that we're looking for. Once you bring your photo into Photoshop, this is the way that you're going to edit it. The first thing you want to do is copy the background layer by clicking and dragging that background down to the bottom of the layers palette right next to the trash can here, and you'll see that that will create a background copy. That way, if we do any like really crazy edits like this, we're like, oh, that looks really good, and then later we decide, oh, that doesn't really look good. You can see here, if I take that eyeball off that background copy, I can actually just throw that background copy away and start over. I've got this background here to work with. So let's copy that background. You can also label it if you wanted to. You just double click the text and you can say, this is going to be my retouch layer. And the next step is to do some retouching. Let's talk a little bit about the ethics of retouching. For the most part, we want to leave our subject as they are, and we really only want to make decisions about retouching based on the simple rule of thumb. Is it there every day? And if it's not there every day, then that's something that we could probably retouch. In this case, if we look at this image at 100%, and I'm going to do that by using the shortcut key Command-Option-0, you'll see that. And another thing that I can do here is hit the F key. So one of the things I've done is hit the F key. If I don't hit the F key, I can use these little bars to navigate around here, so that might be useful. I prefer to hit the F key and then hold the spacebar key, and I can click and drag around at 100%. You always want to do your retouching at 100% because I can't see a lot of what I am looking at for retouching when I look at it full screen. The shortcut key to look at it full screen, by the way, is Command-0, and then Command-Option-0 100%, Command-0 to look at it full screen. Here's another helpful tool. Actually, I don't necessarily need to look at everything here at 100% until after I crop and resize. So let's do this. Let's copy the background layer. That's step one. Step two is going to be to crop. In this case, I'm going to go up to ratio and choose 4:5. In parentheses, it says 8:10. And what this is going to do is going to give me a ratio of 8 inches or 4 inches to 5 inches on the width to height. And what I want to do is kind of roughly center my subject. I want to have some space up here above the subject's head. You don't want to crop it too tight like that, typically. Okay, a little bit of space on top, a little bit of space on the sides. You want really a head and shoulders shot. In this case, I have roughly the same amount of negative space on the right side and the left side, even though the eyes are kind of off-center. That's totally fine. So I just hit Enter, or I could have hit, if you're cropping here, if you just hit the little check mark, that'll work too. Again, hold the spacebar key to get the hand grabber to move it around on the screen. So after I crop, I'm going to resize. I'm actually going to resize first before I do my retouching, and you'll see why. Here, I'm going to go into my resize. I'm going to change my resolution first to 300 pixels per inch, and then I'm going to change either the height or the width so that it's 8:10. You can see I plugged in 10 to the height, and the width automatically changed to 8. If I had plugged in 8 in the width, it would have automatically changed the height to 10. Click OK, and then it made it a little bit smaller. Let me just show you before and after. Here's before, and here's after. It's not that much of a difference. When we look at it at 100%, it's a little bit different. So let's talk about retouching now. we're going to look at the spot healing brush tool, the healing brush tool, and the patch tool. Let's start with the spot healing brush tool, which is a really useful tool to take care of some of these blemishes and little kind of little stray hairs on our subject's face. Let's start with this guy here. This is something that's not there every day. If I just click and drag around, it's going to automatically look what's around the part that I'm selecting and try to take a best guess at what it thinks we want it to be. So I'm going around and I'm just kind of cleaning up things that, if we spent a half an hour in the mirror, we might be able to cover up with makeup. That's sort of another rule of thumb I like to think about. Is this something that makeup could take care of? If we lit it the right way, if we used really great lighting, would that be something that we would be able to handle with lighting? And the answer is yes. If you look on this side of the subject's face, the light being a lot brighter gets rid of a lot of things that we would otherwise be noticing. This here looks to me like a freckle, so I'm not going to retouch that. If it's there every day, you leave it. If it's not, like that right there, that little thing in the eyebrow there, looks like just a little bit of dust. Maybe that little white head right there. Now, look what we just did. We just got rid of that little white head, but we made a bigger bump on the nose. So I'm going to hit Command-Z to undo, and I'm going to show you the next thing that we want to take a look at, which is the healing brush tool. The healing brush tool, you actually choose where to select from. You choose your source area. In this case, I'm going to hold down the Option key. I'm going to click right on the edge of his nose, right below the area that I want to retouch. And I move this up, and I'm going to try to kind of line it up perfectly. And it's not exactly perfect, but it's a little bit better than what it was before. There's no sort of extra bump there. It is, you can see it's not a perfect circle, perfectly round thing. I could get into that a little bit if I wanted to, but for us, that definitely works. So again, for the healing brush tool, you choose the source area, hold down the Option key to get this little crosshair, click, then let go, and then you can see I'm sampling from that area, which I can see is like a little bit smoother. And I can maybe Option click from this area, click, Option click from this area. And what you really want to be thinking about for your retouching is you don't want to ever notice you're retouching. You don't want anybody to go like, oh, I can tell that's been retouched. That's one of the rules of thumb. The other rule of thumb is just going to be, if it's not there every day, then don't retouch it. No, the other way around. If it's not there every day, you can retouch it. If it is there every day, don't touch it, maybe we'll say. Okay, this is the patch tool now. This is the last tool I'm going to show you. And here, there's just a little bit of maybe a dry patch on his lips. We're just going to drag that over to a smoother area. And so when you make a selection and then drag over to another area, in this case, there's like a little bit of a red spot there. We'll take it and we'll drag it to another spot that's very similar, and that'll just kind of even it out a little bit. It works a lot like the other two. It's just a little bit different. And I think we're good. So I'm not really concerned about anything else here. Everything else looks pretty good. You can see that the narrow depth of field, the blurriness, you see the blurriness of the neck right here compared to the sharpness of some of the other textures on the skin. In this part of the subject's neck, there's some blemishes back here, but it's out of focus, so we're in good shape. We're okay. Good. I'm going to hit Command-0 to look at it full screen now. The next step for after we do our retouching, we're going to convert to black and white. So we're going to go Image, Adjustments, Black and White. And then in this case, I can say, okay, I'm just going to go with the default. I don't really want to change anything here. You can really mess things up if you went like this, for example. It just doesn't look quite right. So I'm just going to go to the default. And then if I wanted to adjust the brightness and contrast, I could. Image adjustments, brightness and contrast. In this case, I think our lighting is really on point. I wouldn't change anything. Yeah, you could increase the contrast maybe just a tiny bit, maybe like that 20 points or so there. Here's before and after. Yeah, okay, maybe we'll increase the contrast just a tiny bit, not much. I think our lighting is so good that we're not going to want to touch that. Now I am noticing after I converted to black and white that there is this little flyaway hair up here. And let's retouch that, and then I can also see that my backdrop had this little kind of space right here. So let's use 100% spacebar to move around. I'm going to use the patch tool for this. I'm going to click and drag around that area. I'm going to drag it to an area that I want it to look like. It gets rid of that flyaway real easily. Now I'm just going to hit Command- twice to get a little bit zoomed out. I don't want to zoom all the way out, so I can zoom in, hit Command minus a couple times to zoom out. By the way, Command plus is the shortcut key to zoom in. And I'm going to go ahead and try this. I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm going to select this whole area here. And then I'm going to try to drag it over here, because that line I'm kind of worried about. Actually, you know what? I'm going to try, let's just drag this part here. Let's leave that corner, see what happens. I'm going to drag it over here and try to get a smooth area. So it didn't quite work the way I wanted it to. You can also see, I don't know if you can see on the video or not, but it creates these actually kind of poor gradations. So not when it Command Z, Command Option Z, and then Command D to deselect. Maybe what I'll do is use the healing brush tool, and I can increase the brush size by going up here and changing the size. So we'll get a little bit of a bigger brush. Option click right here, and then we'll just kind of bring that line in a little bit. Maybe Option click here, bring that line in a little bit. Yeah, also not really what I'm looking for, so maybe we'll just leave it. All right, that's okay. It's not that big of a distraction. So I've already resized, I've converted to black and white, I've done my retouching, and now I'm ready to save it. Because I want to keep this retouch layer here, I'm going to have to save it as a Photoshop file, and we're going to do that by going to File, Save As, and then I just want to find the Google Drive folder and find the folder that I want to put it in. In this case, it's headshots. There it is. And then I can change the format to Photoshop. Make sure that says Photoshop there. And then it should always be saved last name, the photographer's last name, the photographer's first name, and then the period. So last underscore first underscore period, let's say period 1, and then the assignment. In this case, it's going to be headshot. I might actually put the model or the subject, the actor's name in there as well, just so I know who I'm looking at. So we'll try it like that and then save it as a Photoshop file. This here, that when it comes up, you can just click OK, and that's it. That's how we're going to do our retouching, resizing, converting to black and white, and editing for our headshots.